if you're watching Weekend Breakfast with a cup of coffee in your hand or quietly beside you if you're like us, you might like to know that the price of your morning brew is set to go up. Coffee bean prices have soared to their highest level since 1977 due to poor weather in Brazil and Vietnam.
Well, it's putting further pressure on roasters, cafes and coffee lovers. Hannah Kassis, who owns a cafe in Winston Hills in Western Sydney, says they are going to have to put up their prices.
Something we think about for a while and really delayed as long as I can. We're a bit nervous to do it, but I think it needs to be done. It's just gotten to that point because everything has gone up, obviously. We just need to reflect that in what we're selling to the customer.
From the perspective of the customer, cost of living pressures are of course being felt by everyone, and for many people a cup of coffee from a cafe can be a bit of a luxury. What are you expecting in terms of a response from your customers?
Obviously, a coffee is the first thing often to go for someone who is experiencing pressures financially. I know that it is a bit nerve-wracking. People say, oh, you might lose customers, you might lose people, but I'm just hoping that they'll see that we're putting more value onto our coffee and that, they can see that it's not just us, but it is a bigger thing than us.
Yeah, the hike in coffee bean prices that's been talked about this week is due to bad weather in Brazil and Vietnam. The roasters say they are preparing to pass on those price increases, but not for the next 6 to 12 months. So do you anticipate that you may have to hike prices again?
Yeah, this has been discussed, and that is also a concern in my mind, which kind of shifts my focus to when we are increasing, are we just doing a little incremental increase, or are we jumping to a point where we won't have to increase again for another little while? It comes back to what will the customer receive better, I guess. But yeah, I'm hoping that the customer can see how much effort actually goes into a cup of coffee and how much is going on. Even just the awareness building of the farms and what happens there, all the detail, all the refinement that goes into a single bean. When I think about it, I'm how am I actually only paying $5, $6 for a cup of coffee? All of the work that goes into it seems to be so much more. Besides all the farms and all the process of the coffee being produced, it's also our daily costs in the cafe. Wages have gone up. The gas, electricity, even our point of sale systems that customers don't see, everything has increased. And I think that we as a coffee community will need to rise with that.
What about your competition, Hannah? Are many cafes in the area also upping their coffee prices?
It's definitely been a big discussion within the coffee community. I recently once went to an event where they all kind of came, I felt almost ganged up on, but in a good way. Where they told me that by keeping my coffee prices low is not just going to be bad for our business, but for the coffee community as a whole. We're devaluing, the bean and the process behind it if we keep our prices low. So it is definitely a move that has to be made by everyone all together. And by us lifting our prices, we're also releasing that pressure from other cafes to do the same.